Yow! What's up, everybody? My name is Cold, and welcome to Nine and Out. This is episode 12, getting the band back together with Firefly and Snowblindfrog. Your hosts tonight are Turbo Cop, Kip, Getawale, and DJ. And I'll just reiterate that one more time. Our guests are Firefly and Snowblindfrog. Welcome, everybody. Turbo Cop.
Hey, Colt. Thanks for introducing us in. Again, we've got Snowblind and Firefly. Say hi to the camera, guys.
How's it going?
Heyo. Heyo. And yeah, this is a finale of season 1 of Nine and Out tonight. We'll be going on hiatus for a little while after this show. Yeah. And first of all, the week that was, this is the finals week in Platinum. Gentlemen's Club wins out 2-1. I'm sure a lot of you guys saw it. There was a max of, I think, 1,050 people watching that game last night. It was pretty awesome. Pretty sweet game. 2-1. GC winning out against MTS in the Viaduct game. On the gold side, me and Kip casted the Tryhards versus Kids Next Door, was also into a 3-game game, and that was a pretty close one too.
Congrats to Tryhards.
Yep, congrats to Tryhards. We had S-Dog on last week, so I'm sure he's like super duper ecstatic right now. He was telling us all last week about how he really wanted to win. And Silver, Smoking Trees and Stroking Threes, which is like my favorite name to say out of all teams ever, beat out a team called Kyle Sheen 2-1. And Steal All His Dust takes out the 4L team, the Community 4L team, 2-0. And in Iron, the Shylanders win out 2-0 against the Ylanders. So
nice.
There you go.
And I cast the NBA finals, and those were fun too. That was
really?
Who as well?
That was sweet. Wait, NBA finals?
Yeah.
It's basketball, Turbo.
MBA, Master of Business.
National
Administration.
Baller Association? I don't know.
Oh, anyway.
So, our guests tonight are Firefly and Snowblindfrog. Say hi.
Hello. Hello again.
Hello again. And for those who are just turning in and have no idea who you guys are at all, which I doubt there are very many of them, but could you explain what you guys do for the league and what your roles are?
Firefly, let's start with you.
Basically customer support. I mean, we do scheduling and managing of teams, but mostly it's just dealing with teams' issues on a weekly basis. Problems they have with the match, problems they have with, using leader control panel, even simple stuff like changing the team's names. So, yeah, pretty much just a really boring customer support job.
All right, and Snowblind?
Yeah, basically that, and website development. Firefly is sort of selling himself short. He does a lot for the league. He and Komori are like my two right-hand people, if you will.
Komori rules.
Yeah.
Komori rules.
I like her. I played on a team with her. Good sniper.
But yeah, it boils down to a lot of customer support, a lot of hand-holding.
What other kind of responsibilities do you have, though?
Well, so like I do the scheduling for Plat and Gold. That includes match acceptance. I do all the scheduling and acceptance during the playoffs, stuff like that. And then I just have general oversight over Highlander and get to sit back and make my minions make the decisions, and then I take all the blame or credit for them, depending on how they turn out.
Great. So S12 was a pretty interesting season overall. Plat kind of shrunk down a lot this season, and the whole league as a whole shrunk down. But there was a lot of people were talking on the forums about Gold a lot. Silver was a pretty good division too. How do you think this season stacked up against all the others so far?
I thought it was pretty good as far as the competitiveness went. We tried really, really hard with placements to really watch, especially Iron and Steel. Silver kind of was like the middle child, maybe didn't get quite as much attention, and I know I've heard some rumblings about super teams in Silver that should not. Sorry, tongue tied. Maybe they shouldn't have been there, but all in all, I think we put a lot of effort into making sure matches were played and things like that as well. And so I was kind of happy when I was putting the stats together to see that we only had 11% forfeits in Highlander this season, which is down from like 18, and certainly down from like 6s, which had like 22% forfeits. So a lot of hard work that we put into it to make sure everyone gets along and plays their matches.
What specifically do you do to prevent forfeits?
Well, it's different things. One, we intervene and ask the teams to reschedule. When it's during the normal season, we'll allow them to play as much as a week or two later. Playoffs is a little too hard to do that. That's the main thing. It's just being a little more flexible for them and not making them hold to that Monday match or Wednesday deadline that we do for most teams.
All right, cool.
All right. So talking about division placements, what is the plan for divisions for next season? Is summer fun season still a thing, or is summer season going to be a full rostered season this year?
Yeah, the plan right now is that it's a full season. So there's going to be playoffs. We intend for there to be medals again. People, some people might still consider it as a summer fun season, but as far as team placement goes, we want everybody to play their record, and we're not going to, accept off-classing or, goofing off as a reason to play low and stomp on lower players. So we're going to treat it like it's just any normal season.
Great. So when you go for it,
I was just going to ask, maybe could you give us an abridged version of the process you guys go through when it comes to determining the division placements and the placements of teams? Not the long version, but because there's a lot of work to that, right? And it takes a lot of time. Like, what kind of phases and what kind of steps are involved in that with putting teams in the right divs?
Yep. I was going to say that too.
Either one of you guys can jump in.
Yeah, I'll let Firefly do that one.
Well, it's funny that you asked this question. I'm going to answer it because Snow's been working on a system that kind of tallies what their previous records are in previous seasons and kind of gives it a value. People have been using the term ELO, but we're not really sticking to that one. But it's basically just like a placement number. So you have a number for each player, and it averages out on a team, and then that team number determines where you're placed. Now, we don't only stick to that because it's only been in effect for probably 2/3 of a season.
Mm-hmm.
But as we go into the future, we'll look to that more and more. And we also look at ESCA experience as well. So if we see a lot of ESCA experience, we kind of bump it up a little bit. And then, we hope for a little bit of self-regulation from the teams. But a lot of times we just stick to the facts, stick to the records, stick to the ESCA experience.
So that's like a lot quicker than it used to be to do all that, right? It used to be a lot more work. Is that true? And do you find this is the better way, do you think, going forward?
Well, we used all of the data that we needed to look at for each player was in a lot of different places on the site. And so it took a really long time just to look at like 18 players. You had to open up many, many pages. You had to go into each team, look at their record. It was a huge hassle. And so I created what I call, for lack of a better term, the clan inspector, which kind of brings all of that data together in this gigantic, horrible page that's just got everything you can imagine in it. But it's sort of a nice way to see the snapshot of everybody. And something that I've been looking at a little closer this past season was not just what divisions you have played in, but also what division I think you should be in had you not left the prior team that you jumped from. Because that's something that we see a lot where, someone does really good in silver and then they jump to another silver team so that they never end up going up to gold. And so on paper, you may think, wow, that person doesn't have any gold experience. But, we also show we continue tracking the progress of every team they were on all the way up until their last season. So you can kind of look down through and say, hey, that team went all the way to platinum in just one season later. So, had they stayed, they'd technically be platinum. So.
Cool.
So how big are we looking for divisions to be coming up to S13?
Is there a goal?
Season 13.
As far as each division's count, or what?
Yeah, in ballpark, rough estimation numbers. What you want as a baseline.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seems like every time I pick something like that, it never pans out that way. Like I would love to see like platinum, for instance. I would love to see it go up into like the middle teens for a team count. I doubt that'll end up happening. If it does, that'd be nice. But it's hard with plat because I don't want to saturate it by just taking up half of the top half of gold or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any specific goals in mind for division size.
Maybe some
Sure.
old teams from Plat will come back. Who knows?
Yeah.
For example.
We keep hearing rumors about one old Plat team, which
Right,
isn't
I had
even
to
that
throw it-
old,
I had to
maybe
throw it out
possibly
there.
coming out.
We can talk about that after.
Yeah, big mystery. Or we can gossip about
Ask
it later.
about it. Yeah.
Because no one knows for sure yet. Nobody knows anything yet. It's not set in stone. There's no team page on UGC yet.
Nobody knows anything.
Nobody knows anything. So what's more of the danger? Is it more of a danger to get watered down teams, or is it more of a danger to get top heavy with too many teams and loading up silver, gold, and platinum and so on? Does that make sense?
Sort of. What do you mean by watered down? You mean, are you worried that teams will kind of not have good enough players and they'll drop down? Is that what you mean by that, or?
Yeah, and also players dropping down, which you talked about a little bit before. Is that the primary concern right now?
I don't know if it's really a concern. I don't think it's ever concerned us any season. I mean, some teams will naturally drop because they lose their best player, or they're just tired of playing, or their leader suddenly disappears. Just random stuff happens, or they lose 4 games in a row and they disappear. So we're not really concerned about that because we know it's going to happen, and we just let it take its course. I guess the major concern, and I think it's been addressed pretty well this season, is can we make Platinum more competitive? And I think this season is a pretty clear example of Platinum being extremely competitive. I mean, going into it, like any one of the top 7 teams could have beaten any one of the other top 7 teams, and they kind of showed that in the playoffs too. So it's been really exciting to watch. I don't know if we'll replicate that for summer, but I can always hope.
Speaking of which, the biggest change that's happened for S12 was, of course, the fundraiser, and this is the first time we've had admins on to talk about the fundraiser directly. We've been plugging it a lot on the show.
Oh.
But has it met your expectations? Has it not quite gone all the way there or exceeded?
I would say it's exceeded. Initially, when Foreign and Infinite were talking about it, they wanted to set a really low goal of like 1,000 or 1,500 because they didn't think many people would donate, and then Foreign himself would have donated, Inf himself would have donated like 300 apiece, and he's like, well, we would have almost reached that just with our donations, and that'd probably be fine. But I think we did a much better than that, and it's honestly large in part due to large individual contributors like yourself, Turbo, and Cold, and Infinite himself gave 300, Foreign gave I think 300, my brother donated 100, Valen donated 100. So you got all of these like really large donations. And then on top of that, the donation drive events, one which I ran about a month ago, and then one that Hildreth ran, which is the Invitational Cup, which brought in about 300 to 400 apiece. So it's pretty good. I don't know where we stand for next season yet, so you'll have to hold off on that. Hopefully we can get it going, but I'm not 100% sure.
Sure.
What's the final total? Do you know?
It's a little over 3,000. I believe it's like 3,065 or something like that.
So what are we looking
bring it
at
up.
for, let's say, an individual player on the team that wins Plat? How much does he or she get?
I believe Infinite made a post on that. It's like, I don't know, 140. I want to guess, but let me look it up. 'Cause I don't have it in front of me.
Not bad.
It's a pretty
bad.
decent chunk of money per person for 9 players.
So yeah, it'll get up there. If it improves from here, it could become sizable pretty quickly. We'll see.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Let's talk about map choices a little bit. So S11 did have one changed map, which is Borneo's newest iteration. And you didn't even run it in a preseason like you normally do. Instead, we had Barn Blitz as preseason. So what was the decision thinking for that? And did it work out as you anticipated it to?
Past 2 seasons was Barn Blitz preseason, actually.
Oh, you're right. You're right. S11 was Barn Blitz preseason.
But still a valid question.
Yeah.
I wasn't involved with where we placed maps last season. I don't know if Snow wants to take this one if he knows better, but I know I wasn't a part of that.
Yeah, I don't really remember other than we were. God, I can't even remember what I did last week, so I apologize. But it's
It's okay.
I'm old. I know part of it was that we're still, actively working with all the map makers. I know Red Rum with his testing team has been working with the Barn Blitz map maker, as well as Valen and the other guy with Borneo. I don't remember the specific decision to place it in there, other than that we knew that, it's been played before. It's relatively popular. I think the Euros like it a lot. So it just sort of felt like, a good one to use for the preseason.
Shout out to Europe. Can I ask you about
All of
Granary?
Europe.
Granary hasn't been played 2 seasons. Are the choices just specifically up to the team leaders, or what's up with that? I think Granary's a good map.
I can answer that.
I can tell you, Granary is coming back next season.
Quitting UGC right now.
Scoops right here. What do we have to do to make Canal Zone reappear?
You don't. You can just forget about mentioning it ever again.
You'll have to go start your own Highlander League, I think.
I will. It'll be Canal Zone 24/7.
Are there any other surprises though? Any other map surprises in the wings at the moment?
The only surprise, and I don't know how it'll go over. We talked about this a lot at the last Plat Advisor Council meeting, and they were all sort of on board with adding Snakewater into the mix for the first time. So I'll be very interested to see how that one goes. We're not sure where to place it at the moment, whether to put it in preseason since it's not really been played in Highlander yet. We're sort of split on that, because on one hand we'd like to treat preseason as a place as like a testing ground for new untested maps, but then at the same token when we do that, we don't have a very good hit rate for matches played on some of those maps. Like this season was horrible for Barn Blitz. A lot of matches were not played. I think like in Platinum only one was played. So we're thinking about maybe doing it differently, where the preseason map is something like Granary, something that even pub players know and have seen before, and maybe ease them into their Highlander experience with an easy map like that. So that the order of maps is still up in the air, but we have a pretty good handle on what the list will be.
Could bring back Dust Bowl Pro for the preseason.
Dust Bowl Pro could happen. Is that the one with the payload cart?
Yes.
The payload cart in Dust Bowl? That map's actually
played,
a lot of fun in pubs.
History is interesting. Maybe we can talk about weapon bans a little bit. Turbo?
Sure. This season, a lot of changes in weapons happened right at the beginning of November or December. So there are a lot of reactionary bans in November. And then we had a few layoffs. Babyface Blaster got allowed back in. Short Circuit is still out. Will there be any changes for weapon bans? And if so, what's the process for that happening?
I'm not sure if we're decided on any changes yet, but I'm sure that there will be changes. I know we're looking at a couple of weapons to be unbanned, and we are looking at least one to be banned, although we haven't made a conclusive decision
Names?
yet. Babyface Blaster for banning, and then unbanning would be Phlogistonator and Holiday Punch.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Interesting.
Flodge. That's interesting.
The Flodge.
Unban the Flodge?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You just made a lot of friends, I think.
What?
Yeah, watching
Oh my
chat.
I hear a lot of people complain about Air Blast, so maybe those same people will complain about the Flodge. I don't know.
What? No, that's the worst.
You mean-
You can
Unban everything. It's chaos at UGC.
You can direct us
I
to our
like it.
leaders who agreed with this, by the way. So
You
Again,
missed
no
the episode where TMP was on, and he had a 15-minute talk about why the Flage was really bad, or why it should.
I'm more interested in Flage versus Flog. Can we take a vote on pronunciation?
I think it's
Phlogistonator. It's Phlogistonator. Come on.
Right. So
Short
so
of
the short's got to be Flage.
Wow, that sounds French.
Flog, because I like you're flogging someone.
All right. I want to talk about how you decide to
Yeah.
initiate weapon bans or pick maps, because I know on the forums it can just get so repetitive
heated.
and really heated about some really minor things sometimes. So how much do you take into account those discussions on the forums? How much do you take into account actual matches and seeing somebody who's really overpowered with maybe the Babyface Blaster or Soda Popper or whatever? And how do you make those decisions? Who do you actually listen to, and who's the last one to kind of sign off on that?
Well, Foreign is the last one to sign off on anything because he's the head honcho. So if he doesn't sign off on something, it doesn't happen. But I would say that just the other head admins like Blazing, Snow, used to be Red, since he's kind of taken a back seat and now he's moved towards Dota 2. They would be the people who would probably make the final decision there. As far as initiating it, I mean, we look at the forums. I think most of the admins read the forums, but as you pointed out yourself, it's kind of hard to jump into that sometimes with how heated they can get. And as far as watching matches, I mean, we're already super busy during the week just dealing with the regular stuff that admins have to do. That, I don't know, we don't have that much time to look at STVs of whether or not a weapon is really overpowered. So hopefully the Platinum Advisor Council will take care of that problem for us, and they'll be the ones to kind of spur these discussions and gather all the evidence and present it to us.
And you guys have had 2
Highlander
meetings
Council?
now. How have they gone so far?
They've gone pretty well. We've
Could you
answered
talk
questions
about
we
what these
feel-
are for people who don't know?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this season, kind of at the behest of Valen, he was the first guy to kind of bring up the idea of bringing in the Platinum leaders as an advisory team to the admins to kind of bridge the gap between the community and the admin staff. And it took some convincing. Obviously, there's some, I don't know, hesitations on the parts of the admins to get involved with that, but I think it was definitely the right decision. So they're just these meetings that we hold kind of arbitrarily timed, depending on whether or not we have questions that we need answers for. So far we've had 2, I think, in the past 2.5 months. And, you know, we talked about stuff like map selection, weapon bans, specific things like we're going to be making the maps in the regular season repeat in the playoffs, just small things to improve the league. Which we've gotten straight from them. So
Yeah, that was something I think every Platinum team has talked about during playoff season on this show, was that they wanted to have the maps repeated instead of new maps for the playoffs.
Yep,
That's
and that will
awesome.
be the case
Yes,
going forward.
Nice.
Awesome.
Should we show off the medals? That would be really
Yeah, sure.
cool. Ooh.
Metal
9 and out
Shop.
scoops.
We
Never
have
seen
the
before.
exclusive, never before seen.
So,
look here.
Snow, if you would, give us a little bit of an intro on this new medal decision.
Yeah, so
It's different.
Yeah, it's completely. I can't take any credit for it. We don't have any creative input. It is 100% Rusky's brainchild, and I love it. I think it's
Shout
a
out to
huge
Rusky,
departure
dude.
from
Yeah, shout out to
prior
Rusky.
seasons. I love it. So and wait till you see the Plat version. I'm gonna keep that one a secret for now, but it's
Ooh.
even better yet.
For those who are
Watching
watching, I put it on the
service.
right-hand side of your screen. If you're
That
blind,
Is
Snow,
snazzy.
Frog?
Pretty, I like it.
Rusky Do,
See-
best item maker EU.
Oh my goodness.
So you can't tell us why it's an eagle with a star, because it's really cool. It's got an eagle and a star and a bunch of
well,
other
well,
stuff.
the UGC badge has wings on each side, so
that makes sense.
I would think it's just a small step.
Yeah, and I'll give
man.
you a hint of Plat. It's more a phoenix than an eagle, and that'll be my only hint.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm getting shivers just thinking about it.
that's sick.
If there are
So
any
sweet.
Platinum teams looking for heavy next season, I just want to come forward.
If any of my previous teams want to let me roster right, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, that looks
I
great.
got it.
Those are amazing. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be really cool.
I kind of want to ask about the big thing that happened this week that everybody's kind of was talking about, but has kind of since faded over. And I guess we could. I mean, it kind of goes without mentioning the admin overturning of the final score of the MTS versus GC match last weekend or last Thursday, and then this weekend they replayed it. And I don't know if you guys are sick of talking about that, and because the decision's made and it's done, and GC is. Oh, did I say GC versus MTS? GC versus Murder Force. Sorry.
Actually,
Yeah.
this would be the
The-
first time we have talked about it
the
because
lower
there
bracket
have been a few people that have voiced their opinion, but the admins haven't. I don't think had a chance to really tell their side of it. So
Yeah.
So do we
This
want to
is your
open that up?
chance.
Snow,
Sure. Yeah.
you want to do that one?
You
Okay.
don't want to touch that one with a 10-foot pole, do you?
I don't like talking about it, but I figured
So-
you might want to get.
Yeah, so the main, I don't know, do I need to set it up and explain to people what actually happened first, or I don't know if everyone's up on this one or not.
I'm actually a little bit out of the loop here, to be honest.
All right, so
Cole's
Cliff
notes.
Notes.
Cliff
Cliff
notes.
Notes is they were into their OT round. GC, let's see, Murder Force had just attacked, put 8 minutes 59 seconds on the clock. GC was about to do their attack round. A minute or so into it, they lost 3 players all at once and paused. There was some confusion and shuffling going on. I think Max was pretty flustered with Valen having quit and him having to take over responsibilities of the team, and was trying to figure out what in the world was going on, when people were coming back. Not a lot of dialogue going on between the two teams, it didn't seem. And so after 7 minutes, Murder Force decided to unpause. Now, GC didn't contest. They didn't say, no, don't pause, and they didn't repause, which, they should have, but they didn't know if they were really allowed to and all that stuff. So what it came down to was Murder Force reading the rules literally, which say that a pause should be no longer than a maximum of 5 minutes. And our point is some of the rules are guidelines, and I understand it's probably not clearly called out as well as it could be. I mean, you have to imagine these rules have been written over a lot of years with a lot of different hands in them, and so they're not really very fluid, or they don't have a coherent stream of conscious through the entire thing. And so, there's definitely room for improvement with things like that. I mean, it is sort of ridiculous that it says a pause shouldn't be any more than 5 minutes, because we don't really hold people to that. At the 6 minute mark of a pause, we're not going to say, okay, Murder Force can have a free forfeit because they didn't unpause yet. And for us, what it really comes down to is we look at it from a sportsmanship perspective and fair play. And had we been involved in that match live as it was going on, we would have, sort of forced both teams to accept a longer pause than that 7 minutes to give them time to get things together. And if GC couldn't, then we would have asked for it to be rescheduled, because and that's not just because it's a high profile plat match with money on the line. I mean, we would have done this if it were in iron, maybe not in regular season. It's all a gut instinct sort of call when you're in the moment. And we feel that the plat teams are supposed to be sort of the highest standard of play in the league. And it just didn't feel right allowing Murder Force to be able to unpause when GC didn't have their players back and then go on. I didn't care that they went on to win. I mean, obviously, if we wouldn't have overturned it if GC ended up winning, because no one would have disputed it. But because GC brought it to our attention, then that's when we got involved and asked them to replay it. And so initially we were going to have Murder Force just keep their 8 minute 59 time. But Stabby was adamant that he wasn't sure he would have the same roster on the rematch night, and the time ought to reflect who showed up that night. And I thought that was reasonable. So I said, fine, you can redo your attack round if you want and try to put a better time on the clock. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way. But that's it from a high level.
That's true. I think what some people might be a little worried about is that because Valen does have easy access to you guys, does that change how you view the situation at all?
Absolutely not. He did not contact us at all. I mean, it was just me dealing with Max and Stabby that night. There was no involvement from Valen whatsoever.
Sorry, I mean Max.
He's like quit, right? I mean, I have him on my friends list, and he hasn't been on Steam in a while. So
yeah, he didn't attend the last Plat leader meeting either.
Yeah, he's been kind of MIA. So we had no communication with him at all.
Okay. Could you talk a little bit more? Because I'm pretty sure people don't understand just how much time you spend dealing with issues and getting people online and,
lots.
handling.
The answer is
handling
lots.
constraints. So, like,
I think we know these guys do a lot of work.
Sure. If you had to pick the amount of time you'd spent doing things that were not complaint settling and complaint settling, how much is that percentage of your time?
Deleting photos off the form.
It's super variable. I mean, for Snow, he doesn't just do the dealing with issues. I mean, he's an active website developer for our league, and he works really closely with Forn on that stuff, especially with stats. And, like we were talking about earlier, where he's created his clan inspector tool for teams. As for me, I mean, it's kind of just depends on the week. Sometimes I'm casting, sometimes I'm running donation drive events. Other times I'm just ringing for teams. So it's kind of just a mixed bag, not even specifically admin related. So I would just kind of give all the work to the people who really do spend like almost 15, 20 hours a week on the league, like Forn and Stone Blazing.
Yeah. I think some people don't realize how much of the stuff happens behind the scenes that they don't see, especially with Snow, that they're thinking, what do these guys do? And a lot of it is behind the scenes. I want to ask about the rules. Some people have suggested or talked about, they've said that there shouldn't be gray area in rules. And if the rules are there, they should be black and white. And they've looked at some other leagues like as examples, like for example, ESEA. Is it possible that, like I suggested, to like get team leaders or get the community somehow to review these rules and at least review them and see like if there are any changes made, some way to look at them and see what can we do about the rules? What are your guys' thoughts on that? Either of you guys?
Yeah, as far as the rules being updated, Firefly and I are actually going to spend the off season going through them with a fine-tooth comb, and we're actually going to approach it from the perspective of having a common set of rules for all 3 TF2 leagues, because I know there's some little inconsistencies here and there. But yeah, I mean, we're open to the feedback, and it's certainly something we will talk with the Plat Leader Council about. But as far as the topic of them being black and white versus gray, I mean, they literally cannot account for all scenarios.
Yeah, it's impossible for them to be black and white.
Yeah, and I don't know how better to have written the rules to encompass the situation that occurred between Murder Force and GC so that it was handled better from their perspective. I mean, it almost felt like the community was saying, well, the rules really ought to say a pause should last no longer than is needed. You know, and then how do you define that? I mean, so we don't throw out the 5 minutes so that everyone adheres to that necessarily to the second. But if you don't have any guideline, then people pause for 15, 20 plus minutes and, you know, screw over their opponent, who then has people who have to go to bed and all that kind of stuff. So it's, you know, it's hard to find that like happy medium between black and white and gray. But ultimately, you know, everything is going to come down to case-by-case basis. You know, I got a lot of flack about that decision with GC and Murder Force because people were saying, oh, this is going to set a terrible precedent, blah, blah, blah. I don't really think it is. This is a one-off situation. I don't see this as precedent-setting. Given the facts that we reviewed at the time that this occurred, this is how we felt that we needed to deal with it. But, you know, that was a unique situation. It hasn't come up before like that, not in that specific, you know, way. So I don't know, but I'm open to any feedback that people have, always on any topic.
There was a good post on the TFTV forums by Smacka who gave the wording of the ESEA rule about disconnects, which says that the pause remains for 5 minutes, blah, 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 but it means the games can be paused for longer than 5 minutes if the non-disconnected team agrees. So in other words, if the team who's waiting wants to wait longer than 5 minutes, they can. It's a pretty good post, actually, and it's interesting. And I know it's only one league and only one kind of rule, but, you know, I think there's ways to word it. And there was a lot of good ideas, actually, in that thread, too. And so I hope the community can somehow look at it and put our heads together and figure out a way.
I'd like to make a point about that, about like different leagues having different rules, and they're comparing, like saying, well, CEVO does this, or well, you know, ESEA or ETF2L has these type of rules. UGC League for Highlander is not only worldwide, but it is massive, and it is free, and it is volunteer operated. So if people want to get like real strict about how the rules are interpreted, like the whole rule interpretation thing, I think for me it was sort of a fail-safe thing for like in these special scenarios. Like for the most part, it's very strict, but you know, when you have something that's very prestigious and there's a lot of stuff on the line and you have to interpret a lot of different variables, it gets kind of complicated. And I think that has to be taken into consideration when you have scenarios like this. So I would just say, like, give them a little bit of slack. It's okay.
I agree with the slack. I just think it'd be good to get to get input, get as much input as we can on it, is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the discussion is fine. I just wanted to add that point. I'm not saying it's null and void. I'm just saying that's my point. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought up the Smacka talking about 5 minutes unless the other team agrees. I think that's pretty much how it works here too, unless I'm mistaken. I mean, a lot of teams give plenty of extra leeway on pauses.
Yeah.
I played for 5 seasons. I don't remember anyone being a stickler about keeping the pause under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think it was a situation where the other team was
made it clear in this case. Like, you know, I don't want to put any intentions on Murder Force, but it did seem like they were trying to get a cheap win. That's just my personal opinion.
Some people were saying that they were frustrated about other things, which is fair.
Sure, there's history there, and I don't want to touch
Yeah.
any of that. I'm just saying that's what.
Do you think the fact that money's introduced has changed the dynamic of the way these teams are playing and working with each other? Because, I mean, we're talking, I think Max was saying in chat, $170, I think is what it is. Or we'll say it's over $100, and that's
Per
legit
team or
money.
per
I actually
player,
looked it
yeah.
up. It's 150,
Easily over $100.
153 per person for first
Okay.
place, 91 for second, and 61 per person for third.
So do you think the introduction of money into this has changed the dynamic between these teams and kind of, I don't know.
Are people more bloodthirsty now?
You know,
Or they just,
Before
being a
this-
little bit more dirty, right? That could definitely be the case.
Not dirty, but
Before
just wanting to win.
Before playoffs started, I would have said no, because I think Platt is a really good example of good sportsmanship and fair play. I mean, listening to them all talk in the Platt Leader Advisor meetings, they really have like a gentleman's agreement to always allow ringers whenever anyone needs them, and they don't really haggle over them or anything like that. And I think
Most of the time, anyway.
yeah, most of the time. But yeah, once playoffs started, there was some stuff that I guess happened during the Viaduct week between GC and Murder Force, and then again in the other match. So I don't know. Up until then, I don't think that it had been a problem.
Was that something you considered when looking about raising funds for a prize pool?
Well, we did look into, and this kind of fell off the wayside, unfortunately, but we were thinking of putting in some kind of contract for Platinum players to kind of sign that says, we'll be good sports, we'll try to play out our matches properly, and a bunch of other stipulations. But I think there were just too many projects people were working on, and it kind of just got forgotten. But we probably would have enforced that here, like we did anyway.
Okay.
I really want to know if you're going to force people to tag themselves up correctly, so I don't ever get confused again.
Just put that in a contract. I'll write it and make it binding.
I would totally, I would sign that with like my own blood. Like,
Yeah,
It's
I would
TF2
sign
does
it with
it.
it's
TurboCop's
such a
blood.
huge pain.
TF2 has that rule.
Are you talking about
It
for
is-
during cast? I think that would have
Yeah,
been one
for
of the
during cast.
stipulate. That was
Yeah.
going to be
We
one of the
talked about
stipulations in the contract.
Oh, thank you.
For sure,
Oh, thank
but
God.
Oh, cool.
How can we make
force?
that happen?
I don't know. You get a forfeit unless you put all your tags on. I don't know.
It's just not very fun to say the name like Poop Fairy 420 like 20 times in a cast. Like you get.
I'll
get
change
tired
my
of it
name.
sometimes.
I'll change my name.
I'm sorry, man.
I sympathize.
What I want to know is what is the future of UGC at this point? What is the trajectory from here? Just if you had to like make a dream prediction of what's going on behind the scenes. Not even just about S13, but even like farther than that. Like maybe
Goals.
a year or 2 year or 5 years from now.
I think the main goal is to just keep it going as long as we can until the next iteration of Team Fortress comes out. At least that's what Horn is telling me. So
Wow.
Wow.
he's in it for the long haul. I mean, he's been around forever, and he plans on staying around probably until he dies. So he's
Wow.
he wants to keep it going for a while. As far as maybe next couple of seasons, I mean, the dream ideally would just be to keep the monetary prize in Platinum. I mean, that would be the best thing, I think. Whether or not it'll happen or it'll be as good as this season, only time will tell. But
Snowblind,
Do you think?
you anything?
Do you think? Yeah, go ahead. Snowblind,
Yeah, I
any
was just going to
thoughts?
say, we're really excited for the summer season. Summer season 10 was our prior spike in players, and so we're hoping that giving summer the full season treatment will really help there. We're doing a lot of things behind the scenes. I think Firefly mentioned DOTA 2 very quickly there, and I don't want to give that away and steal anyone's thunder, but we've been talking about that one for years, and I can say now that things are actually moving on that one, and people have been hired and things are in the works, so watch out for that. I think that is going to immensely help our league, and I hope that TF2 can benefit from that in the periphery.
That would be awesome.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
Dota 2 in the future.
What is
That would
Dota?
be really, really cool.
We have some good questions, so I think
Sure.
we should
I
move on
guess
to those.
it's DJ question
Moving
time.
on to hooray, DJ question time.
Hooray,
Nice.
DJ question time!
Okay.
Oh my god.
Can we do like an intro song next season when we do this?
I was thinking about that for like
Yeah.
20 minutes while you were
It's
doing
time
it.
for
Sure.
DJ
Like an
Q&A. Dun, 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 dun,
I was
dun, dun,
thinking,
dun, 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 dun.
Scratched discs, because like DJ, jokes. Okay.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'm totally on that. BRB.
We could do that.
Oh,
Oh,
god.
Oops.
Oh yeah,
getting
that sounds really
scared.
good. Okay. So we got a bunch of questions this week. It's really cool to see so many questions come in the chat. I think I'm just gonna go at them in a random order and check them off when I pass them. So we have a question from Based Magikarp. Wants to know: is there still going to be support for the 4v4 variant? I know that there were many wins in that league off of forfeits. He says.
There
Yeah,
is actually. We
yeah.
hired 2 new 4v4 admins, so
Oh, okay.
hopefully, again, like
Cool.
with anything, time will tell. But they seem like
Yeah.
really nice guys, so yeah,
Okay.
we plan on keeping the support going for that as best as we can.
Okay.
And I think we've gotten a couple of casters on board too now that are going to try to
That's
get
so
more of
cool.
those matches casted. So yeah, definitely more coming in 4v4.
All right. Cool.
That's great.
Cool to hear. We have a question from Reasoners. I'm gonna take a stab at that pronunciation. Wants to know if plat players are gonna have any more say on weapons or maps for the next season.
We kind of touched on this already, right?
Yeah.
Did I miss
They
that
have-
one?
We pretty much came up with a map list from the last meeting with the plat leaders. So
Okay.
yeah, they're having a direct say in it.
And did
Okay.
all 100% of them say they don't want Lakeside?
We haven't finished or finalized the map list.
Okay.
Lakeside is one of the remaining ones that we're not sure whether it's going in or not. But
Oh, good. So there's a chance.
Okay.
There is
Well,
a
you know, the thing with Lakeside though is the
Well, I love
Euro
Lakeside. Talking
Euro
about.
players love it.
Yeah,
If
Euro-
we were looking through the ETF2L just did a map poll of their players and it was very highly
very
rated. So
popular.
you know we
Really?
might include that one for them because I don't think they're going to be happy about Snakewater. I don't know. That's my gut
That's really
feeling.
interesting.
I think Snakewater would be a
Europe's
better
love-
CP map than, say, Granary because of the choke points. Like, Foundry, I think, is a great Granary-like control point map. It's a really awesome and fun map, I think.
Has
Some
I
people
enjoyed
may complain
Foundry.
about
Foundry ever
last,
been
but come
played
on.
competitively?
Come on,
Has
it's so
there
much
ever
better
been
than
a league of
Granary for
Foundry?
Highlander. It's a great sixes map, but Highlander, like, come on.
What is Highlander?
I like Foundry. I played it when it
Yeah,
was.
I love
don't remember
Foundry.
what
I think
season it
Foundry's
was.
awesome.
But the community didn't like it, so
So you look at all these
Yeah, we
people in
did-
chat. They're saying, please no Lakeside. Come on. Come on, the
Yeah,
community
you
has
can
spoken.
trust Twitch
I'll
chat.
take
You
I'll
can-
take your word
Right.
for it.
Please note, Lakeside Kappa.
Wow,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. By the way,
Yeah.
we did do Foundry back in season 6 and 8.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's been
Foundry
quite a
was
while
awesome.
since
It was
they've
one of the
been
most
seen.
fun
It's been a
maps I played.
Wow.
Yeah, so-
Okay.
6 and 8.
Foundry the same season as Turbine.
But I think Snakewater would be good.
Okay. So I think we can go on to the next question. The next question comes from Avo Swift. Wants to know what you guys think about the idea of Valve starting support, like in-game support for competitive TF2, kind of similar to Counter-Strike. What do you think about that?
Do you
I
think
it would
it'll
be
ever
awesome.
happen?
Never happened?
Whether or not it'll happen is a totally different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that Sal, I believe, and someone else talked to Robin Walker like a year and a half ago or something about
Eckstein.
some kind of lobbies. Eckstein, that's who it was. But nothing came of that, so I'm not holding my breath for anything as awesome as it would be.
Okay. Okay.
I
Okay.
agree.
So
We had a cool
let's-
comic like last week. It was really good. Or was it the week before?
I didn't see that one. The next question we have from Upsetter with 1 T. Wants to know, is there going to be this is an interesting, really worded question. I'm just going to read it word for word and let you guys have your interpretation of
Okay.
it. So he says, my other question was, could we have a, let's say, Iron playoff like the week after the finals that the winner of Iron, Red, and Blue have a match could work with Steel and stuff also?
Oh, he wants a final over the lower divisions. He wants to have like an ultimate final between
Ultimate
iron
Fighting
and steel.
Steel
Championship.
and iron? I didn't understand that.
That's interesting.
I believe he was talking about just between the two I don't follow steel and iron enough to know if there was anything that wasn't settled. But I could imagine teams coming to ties. I'm not sure. I think that he was asking about runoff matches or something between playoff matches between iron top teams and steel top teams. Like attention towards the lower divisions.
I think he was smoking something.
So steel
I don't
versus
think we could-
iron is what
I
he's
don't think we could really
suggesting.
cross-pollinate those two
Yeah.
divisions. There's too big of a skill gap.
How about if the
Create some sort
iron
of mutant.
the iron champions should go against the platinum champions?
Oh,
That'd be awesome.
It should be all the champions. You should get all of them in a
Yeah.
randomly seeded tournament, and then
I'd like
you
to
could
see
have
that.
gold versus steel, and then platinum versus silver, and
Sounds great.
iron you get the bye, and then you go from there.
90
I will
players.
say one thing real quick. So this season, if you noticed, we got rid of the iron, blue, and red distinction and just went with red because we had lower teams, and that was in part due to having a lot tighter restriction around who could play in iron. And if you had silver experience, you were not allowed to play in iron. And if the team was basically given a choice, if they had a silver player, that they could either move up to steel and keep them or get rid of them and stay in iron. And so we policed the hell out of it. And, the participation went down, but, I think that's good because we made it a little more tightly controlled. And next season, this is just sort of a cosmetic change. We're going to get rid of the steel, blue, and red distinction. There's just no need for it, really. I mean, it doesn't matter if the division is 80 teams or two separate ones of 40. Frankly, it just makes more work in playoffs because we do the weird stair-stepping integration of them into the playoff bracket. So we're going to do away with this whole split stuff from now on.
I think that's what the question was about. They were asking.
I think that's what it was. It was the same level between
The blue
so
versus
red,
the red
versus
champions.
blue.
Yeah, no more blue and red. I guess.
Okay, so
Yeah.
question answered. Short answer. No more blue. No more red. Okay. Next question from Dr. Plock. So wants to know what you guys are thinking about CP Sunshine. Have you thought about it?
I'm thinking about it now for the first time.
Okay,
Yes, I'm here.
I heard about it for the first time too. I'm like, I thought maybe someone else had heard about it. It looks like a pretty interesting map.
Still in the works, isn't
Okay.
it?
Possibly, I don't know enough about it.
This
I
is
just
the first
saw
time
it
I
looked like a
got
cool
this
map.
map too, actually.
It looks
CP
very
Sunshine.
playable to me.
Yeah,
It looks
definitely.
pretty cool. I haven't been
Is
I
it
don't
playing
know,
it,
Snow,
obviously.
but I think we pretty much settled on the next season, but maybe for
well,
fall.
Yeah, the question did specify next season, but I was kind of pushing it more towards foreseeable future, like considering it as a map.
Yeah, and if it's one of those maps that everyone in the community seems to love, and they've been playing it in pugs a lot, drum up attention to it on the forum, and we can get the testing team to play it and work with the map maker on any bug fixes or whatever. And sure, if it drums up enough interest, we can certainly look at putting it in.
So I guess that's the real question. If you're a map maker and you want to get your map in UGC rotation, the best way to do it is to go through the community first. Then
Yeah, I think pretty much in every case, right? I don't know another way to do it.
sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, we
Okay,
can
I
help
mean-
facilitate that. I mean, Red
Yeah.
Rum does a lot of really good work with the testing team and getting people involved. And I mean, he talks a lot with map makers, so he's a really great resource for that. So we can help sort of get them that good quality community feedback.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, cool. Yeah, I
What
just saw the map and I was like, wow, that looks pretty cool. Next question. This is a question that I'm sure you guys will probably be excited to hear. A question from Neon Charmander. If a community member wants to help out UGC, how should he go about doing so?
Drop a link to that admin app. Hold on, let me get that one.
There's an admin app.
Send it to me.
Yes,
Send that link to me
send it
on.
to one of
Anyone
these
can
guys,
apply.
Send
Okay.
that link to me on
Okay.
Steam. I'll post it on the stream.
A lot of
So
our
what is
links
this?
are hidden on the page, but
Yeah, can you talk about what this is?
it's just how you apply to become an admin for UGC. So if you feel like you can make a difference for the league, or answer some emails for us, help teams in IRC, stuff like that, then you'll have your say in maybe what maps get brought in, what unlocks get banned or unbanned, and any other way you can help the community.
Cool.
Well,
Basically just
what
state
if I
your
didn't have
case.
the time and like I didn't have the dedication to be an admin? Is there anything else I could do?
What if I'm lazy?
What are you asking?
Yeah.
What
I don't
are
know.
you
Go to the
asking?
forums, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone is free to add any of the admins and talk to them about their ideas, or talk to other people who are in the know, like you guys. I don't know. Probably nothing special. Not Turbo. Is that what you said? Kip?
Yeah, he's never.
Yeah. Don't ask me anything.
What if I want to do nothing? What do I do if I want to do nothing?
Right.
What can you tell me?
I want to ruin this league. How do I do that?
What else do
Honestly,
you have for questions
just
there?
play. Just be
Oh, sorry.
around every season, whether or not you're playing. Just be here, soak in the knowledge of what's going on, be in the know of happenings. I mean, that's how I got this job, so that's how I would give more to the community than normal. And I'm sure it's the same for everyone else here. Like, if Kip can think about her first cast that she ever had, like that, I don't know how long ago that was, but I mean, that's just like, you got to start somewhere, and then eventually you'll have more input into the community, and people will know the work you do, and you'll feel
That
like
was
you're
last week, I think.
Yeah,
The
Last
first-
week. Last week was her first cast.
Ah,
Just did it. Just started.
yeah, ever since she got out of house arrest.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
Gotta bring
What
that
other
up again.
what other questions have we got?
Or do we get to
Okay.
do
Next question. All right. So the next question came from Bean. Wants to know if there's any thoughts about another prize pool for Platinum for the coming season.
I think we touched on that too.
Did I miss that one?
Do you want me to just repeat it, or
just repeat
Well,
it?
Sure.
there were other people who were asking it, so I feel like I wasn't the only one. I was watching the chat pretty closely.
our goal is a yes for
Okay.
next season and for the following season, but realistically, I don't think we're going to be able to do it for this summer season, but definitely for fall season. Maybe something will change in a week or two. I don't know. Lots of stuff changes in the off season, so I can't say for sure whether or not we'll have it for this summer season.
Sure.
Okay.
And maybe if we're lucky, we'll be having this conversation again in like 4 weeks from now. It'd be interesting. Maybe.
A
Any other
couple more questions. We got like two questions left.
Sure. We got time for 2 more.
Okay. One from Applesteak. Are there any maps that we could expect again in the future? The list is set now, but at any point in the future, expect maps to be like Warmfront, Granary, Croissant, or Arctic back. Those are specific maps thrown out, but any.
I think
Maps.
Ford wanted Arctic in this season, right, Snow? Unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, he was like the lone person lobbying for Arctic. The entire Plat Council was like, no.
But that says something good for a map if the league owner wants it in a season. So it's highly likely that one will get played in a future season, I would say. But I don't know about any of the others. Croissant, I think, was universally hated, unless I don't remember it properly. They changed it to make it better. Supposedly it made it worse, and even more teams hated it, so we're not going to touch that one, I don't think.
Okay.
Okay.
Last question then before we go to the last bits. This is from Ava Swift. I feel like we get this question a couple of times, but it's interesting to see different points of view and what people think about it. Wants to know, this is to 9 and out, but it's like the entire everyone here today. So, do you guys?
All of us.
Yeah, everyone.
Okay.
Quickly with speed. Ways that TF2 will become larger competitively. If so, how?
Oh, just
Yeah.
how
just like,
they get bigger?
yeah. Like, what do you guys think will make the competitive scene better or bigger?
That's a good question. More leaks and more participation, and more incentives, and Valve support.
Valve
that's my
support is
Valve
like
support?
99% of it,
Yeah.
I would say. You can't really do much for the game without the direct support of the company that makes the game. I mean, if you take a look at
Yeah.
Dota 2 has total full Valve support, and you can see where it's going. So that's it. I will
CSGO
say,
too, yeah.
for those of you that are fans of the Team Fortress genre of games, the next iteration of Team Fortress will probably have huge Valve support. Now, whenever that comes out, I don't know. I'll probably don't do that. But, it's very likely that TF3 or whatever they call it will have insane support, but I don't see it happening for TF2. So, like I said earlier, we're just going to ride the wave as long as we can. And it's with the help of community people that we can do that.
Do you have numbers about how many people are in UGC?
Oh yeah.
We have a few
50?
stats thrown at me.
Snow's the stats guy.
Yeah, Highlander had just shy of 7,000 people. I don't have unique numbers across all leagues because, there were like 4,000 sixes players, about 1,400 fours players, but, some people were on a team in each of those leagues. So unique count is like somewhere around the 8,000, 9,000 mark, I think.
Awesome.
And that's this season, and we did say we're a little down from a couple of seasons ago. We'd really spiked in season 10.
That's awesome,
Okay.
though.
All right. Do you guys want to shout out anyone? I think we're gonna be. This is basically the end of the end of the beginning of the end.
So are there any announcements
Out.
about bonus coming back? People want to know. Bonus.
Bonus.
Well, if you can see that I am tagged with the tag, and so are all my players. So yes, we are coming back. We're looking for a fun season.
Yay!
We're probably not
Yeah.
going to beat any of the top teams. We know that, but we're going to have fun nonetheless. So
That's awesome.
That's
At
great.
least- Congrats, man.
Very happy to hear.
Can I roster ride with you guys to get one of those
Yeah, I want
awesome
a
medals?
medal.
you'll have to run it by the team.
Yeah, okay.
Team. We have had roster riders on our team before, so
Mhm.
that's not unusual.
All right, sweet.
Do
Should
you
we
guys
put
want
you
to
guys on
shout
the
out anyone?
Yeah,
before
put you on the
we-
spot.
Okay, Firefly, shoutouts.
Shout out to all the admins, especially Snow, Komori, Forn, Infinite for running the donation drive, and Blazing Boy, who does a thankless job because he works so many hours. It's absurd. He runs 6s and 4s. The guy's amazing.
Yeah, Blazing's awesome.
And shout out to all the teams, all the players that played this season. Thanks for a great season. And shout out to all the casters and community contributors such as you guys.
Snowblindfrog, what are your shoutouts?
Firefly said it perfectly, so I agree. All of
Aw,
that.
how sweet.
Oh, I
That's very
forgot one
eloquent.
question. GC or MTS?
Oh.
Thursday.
Picks.
Well, I got to go with GC. My homeboys
Yeah.
Arthur and Pudding are on that team. I can't root for the other team, but it'll be close. MTS is so good. I don't know who's actually going to win, but I'm rooting for GC.
It'd be nice to see
Snowblind?
MTS win for once.
Yeah,
I would say GC as well, probably.
Yeah, probably. TurboCop, shoutouts.
Shout out to Shaquille O'Neal, best scout player of all time, as always, and everyone here at Nine and Out who's made this a pretty amazing couple of months here. We will be going on hiatus for a couple of weeks, maybe to the beginning of next season. We'll see. We should have some changes to the show a little bit, but it seems like people like the format. It seems like people like it a lot, so nothing too drastic, nothing too crazy for sure. And I just want to thank everyone here for showing up week after week after week after week and making this show pretty great. So thanks a lot, guys.
Kip, shoutouts.
Shout out to Iffy, Mars, and Fluffy. And of course, you guys, TurboCop, admins, whatever.
Whatever.
Kidder Whales, shoutouts.
Who do I want to shout out to? I guess I should have been thinking of it, huh?
Who's
Shout out
earned a
to,
shout out today?
Adrian Peterson, the best running back in the NFL. Shout out to the Bud Squad. Shout out to my Twitch followers, my uncle Kobe Bryant, and my mom and dad for bringing me into the world.
Oh, very nice, very sweet.
Aw.
My mom and dad last on the list, of course.
Next to
D-Hay.
Adrian Peterson.
D. Hey, what's your shoutouts?
This Scario is gonna beat me up if I don't mention his name, so I guess he's kind of cool. I also wanted to say it's been really awesome doing Night Out with you guys. It's been really cool. So yeah,
Awesome.
Thanks.
thanks you guys. Thanks chat for providing awesome questions, and thanks to all the guests who may have come on. So that's all really good. I like that.
I want to give a shout out to First X Television for making all of this possible, TurboCop for approaching me for streaming all this, as well as Kip and Get a Well and DJ. Thank you so much. Snowblindfrog and Firefly, thank you so much for being our guest tonight. It was really awesome to have you guys on. And my last shout out's going to go to my buddy Massastorm in Nashville. I was just there last weekend, and we went and saw a hockey game together. It was so freaking cool. And thank you, everybody, all of our viewers, for watching our show. We wouldn't be doing this without you if you wouldn't tune in. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot, everyone. This is the end of season 1, and we'll see you all for season 2 whenever that may happen, and I feel like making it happen. So thanks a lot. And
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Love you.
Love you.